What if the most valuable AI company in the world voluntarily gave away billions of dollars to the US government? That sounds like the opposite of how Silicon Valley works. For decades, the biggest technology companies have fought to stay independent from government control. But according to reports, OpenAI has floated an idea that turns that logic upside down. A proposal that could eventually transfer 5% of its equity into a US sovereign wealth fund. Not because the company is walking away from its success, but because this could redefine who benefits from the AI revolution. So why would one of the world's fastest growing AI companies even consider something like this? Here's what has actually been reported. According to TechCrunch, Reuters, and the Financial Times, OpenAI has discussed a preliminary proposal involving a US sovereign wealth fund. The concept would allow that fund to hold around 5% of the company's equity. If such a fund were created, its returns could ultimately benefit the American public. The idea has also reportedly been discussed as a model that other major AI companies could potentially follow. But this is important. Nothing has been approved. There is no final agreement. Any version of this proposal would require a complex political and regulatory process before it could ever become reality. So if this isn't simply giving away shares, what is actually happening here? Most people are asking the wrong question. They're asking, why would OpenAI give away part of its company? But the more interesting question is, what could OpenAI hope to gain? No one outside the company knows for certain, but analysts have suggested several possible incentives: greater public legitimacy, stronger political alignment, a broader sense that society shares in AI success, and perhaps a more constructive relationship with future regulators. None of these explanations have been confirmed by OpenAI, but together they point towards something much larger than a financial transaction. Because suddenly, this isn't only about ownership anymore, it's about trust. History has seen this pattern before. Some industries begin as private businesses, then they become so important that governments start treating them as strategic national assets. Energy, transportation, telecommunications. Even the internet itself eventually became deeply connected with public policy and national interests. AI may be approaching a similar moment, not because it's identical to those industries, but because its economic and geopolitical importance is growing at extraordinary speed. If AI becomes critical infrastructure, the relationship between governments and AI companies may change forever. And that's where this story becomes much bigger than OpenAI. This is the moment where the entire story changes. The headline makes it sound like OpenAI is talking about giving away shares, but that's almost beside the point. The real debate is something far more fundamental. Who should own the wealth created by artificial intelligence? The companies building it? The investors funding it? Or should society itself participate in those gains? OpenAI didn't invent that question, but this proposal has pushed it directly into the spotlight. And once that question is asked, it's very difficult to ignore. Ideas like this ever move beyond discussion, the consequences could extend far beyond OpenAI. Other frontier AI companies could face pressure to explore similar arrangements. Governments might seek not only to regulate AI, but to participate economically in its growth. Some countries could even consider sovereign AI investment funds designed specifically for emerging technologies. These are not predictions. They're possible scenarios that depend on political decisions, market dynamics, and public support. But one thing already seems clear. This story isn't really about OpenAI. OpenAI simply started a conversation that may shape the next decade. Because if artificial intelligence creates unprecedented wealth, who should own that future and who should benefit from it?